Hello there everyone, Ashnflash here, and welcome on in to a long overdue video. If you didn't know, last month I had the privilege to go and visit the LEGO headquarters and the LEGO house and do all these things in Billund, Denmark, and it was just a phenomenal experience, and I really want to go again next year for the next RLFM days. RLFM is Registered LEGO Fan Media. Myself and a bunch of other YouTubers and blogs and just a ton of other content creators were there. We got to see some sets revealed, some announcements and things like that. One of the other things that we got to do was interview some themes and people who work on those themes, and of course I'm very grateful that they were there. The superheroes team was there to interview, which last year, if you didn't know, we did a couple videos talking about that. One of the responses that came out of that was, why are we not getting as many DC sets? And the reasoning we were given then was that they aren't releasing any movies. So, you know, we've talked about that to death. And now I'm there, though. I'm actually here. I'm able to ask the questions myself, hear it. And I got to interview Mark Stafford, the same person who said that response last year, as well as Jesper C. Nielsen. And he is the superheroes team lead. He's in charge of superheroes, which, if you didn't know, Marvel and DC, they are a shared theme. So I was, pretty nervous, and the audio isn't the best. I had it close to me. You could hear my heavy breathing as I was really nervous. It was my first interview of the day. Like, my fourth one was so much more calm and relaxed. It was just like chatting, and I really wish that I hadn't done superheroes first because of that. But honestly, I would have been still stressed out because I was so concerned about how do I ask these hard-hitting questions while still being respectful to these people that, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these people. If there's no superhero sets, the channel wouldn't exist. There's all these things that, I owe a lot to the superhero team. I think we can all agree there. I think that sometimes, there are missteps. There are some things like, again, a whole separate video I want to talk about is 2022 as a whole for Marvel and superheroes. Like the Black Panther bust. I am not a fan of the design, the concept, all those things. We've talked about that a lot. However, Mark Stafford, the designer of the set, has brought us some phenomenal sets for both DC and Marvel, and it was just really insightful. It was just such a great experience to talk with someone who, as you'll hear, I'll play some clips, as well as you should check out MiniSuperHeroesToday. He did another video actually interviewing him, and we didn't ask the same questions, so just listening and hearing that, it was really interesting. Like, he talked about X-Men and things like that, and he exudes passion for both DC and X-Men, and again, we'll touch on all of that, but I want to start with, to me, probably I'm going to go in order of my interviews. So the first question that I asked is there reasoning behind the lack of DC sets? And the team lead's response was,
we don't go into, that's actually a business question. We don't go into answering that. If your question is if we're doing anything else, of course we are.
While I appreciate them, I guess, confirming that DC's still around, that some sets, I guess, are still in development. We knew of a Flash one that was supposed to come out for the movie, as well as a rumor for a Technic set next year for 2023 from the Batman. So we know the theme, it's still kicking about, it's still alive. So it's tough to sit here and hear that, and I want to play a clip here of something Mark Stafford said about some of the selection process that they have for DC.
I did the Wonder Woman set. I grew up with repeats of 66 Batman and the Wonder Woman TV show and the Richard Donner Superman movies. I love DC. I would love to do more DC. It comes down to where and how things are being marketed as well. Batman movie is a worldwide event.
Sure.
A Green Arrow TV show isn't. So it's very hard for us to say, right, well, there's a Green Arrow TV show in America, but kids in Germany won't be watching that, or Japan, whereas the Batman movie is everywhere. The Avengers movies, the Disney Plus is everywhere because it's Disney, and they're just very good at making sure everybody's aware of their characters. I'd love DC to be just as well known and us to be making as many DC models. But the reasons for that are beyond my pay grade. It's just a personal thing. I'd love to do more DC. I bought Legion of Superheroes, the comic book, for 15 years. I'd love to do Legion of Superheroes. It'd be fantastic. If I could get Matarita Lad into a Lego set, I'd be all over it, but I can't.
You could hear his passion. You can hear how excited he is about the future for superheroes, but specifically wanting to do things for DC, especially because I don't have a video, I only had the audio. Watching his interview with MiniSuperHeroesToday, he seems almost disappointed and hesitant to talk about, he's been trying to get DC. He's the reason the Bugle exists. He just asked the team lead, hey, can I go and work on this? I had a week off from not working on stuff for movies, and he created a sketch model for the Bugle. That's how that happened. He seems like he's so passionate about these things. I've no doubt that he's been pitching ideas, whether or not it's the superhero team at Lego or whoever else, or if it's over at DC, stopping things from going anywhere. I don't know. Something else really interesting he says is that the shows like the Arrowverse, Legends and Flash and all that, they're very big here in North America. However, that doesn't mean globally they'll be well received if they did sets. I think that a really big factor behind the thinking of that is two things. Two idea sets that I think speaks volumes to that. The Big Bang Theory set came out sort of as the show was declining, I would say, in both viewership and quality. Doctor Who, huge fandom worldwide, but a very niche group, I think, that overlaps with Lego, unfortunately. And we saw that with the sales of that idea set. Those things were on sale everywhere here in North America. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I don't think that set was very well received, and the same thing with the Big Bang Theory. They were both on sale, heavily marked down, just trying to get them off the shelves. Those are two TV show sets. And I think these shows aren't available everywhere in the world. Like right now, when a show launches on Disney Plus or HBO Max, some countries don't have those services. There's already sort of a disconnect worldwide. So having sets based off of Arrow and all that, also the peak popularity again, that was a long time ago. The shows are not where they were back then in terms of popularity, except maybe Superman and Lois. I think they had one of the largest debuts ever on the CW. But regardless, I do agree with what he's saying there. However, in that statement, it also doesn't make sense. Because, sort of like what we touched on last year with his other statement, there are a ton of movies coming out for DC that didn't get any attention. I will bring up the Suicide Squad again. Yes, it's R-rated. Yes, I understand that it's way too graphic. Yes, I understand it's way too mature to make sets directly tied to it. However, they could have done the thing from 2016. I should just get an audio clip of that and just, snip it down and just keep using it in future DC videos. Anyways, the other thing is this year with Black Adam. It is a huge success. It's been very well received by the audience. It's doing well in the box office. It's doing better than Shazam, which is really beloved. Both those two movies didn't get any sets. Huge missed opportunity. However, on the flip side, there's some really good things about this. So, like, there's the rumored Flash set that was supposed to come out. We know that Michael Keaton's Batman is involved. They know that's successful, plus the Flash character. I think that set, hopefully if it is movie-based, would be a huge success. Also, Aquaman, the biggest DC film of all time. They would be crazy not to do sets based off of the sequel. Shazam. Already now, like he's saying, it's a beloved character. It's established. People love Shazam. Hopefully with the sequel, we would get sets. I would hope. I want to jump back and talk about Marvel and the hypocrisy there in his statement. He says that Marvel and Disney, they're doing such a great job of making sure that their characters are well known from the shows, Disney Plus stuff, and of course all the movies. We are not getting any content for Marvel shows. We have gotten, at most, what we've gotten for the Disney Plus stuff has been the CMF series, of course, the 2 What If sets, which they're only doing because it's animated shows and it makes sense. They are a toy company. Of course, they're going to do sets for that. But none of the other shows, especially the ones that have come out since shows after the Minifigure series, have not gotten any attention, not a single set this year. Except for, if you want to count this, which I don't, it's just well timed, the Infinity Saga I Am Groot set. And then, of course, we also have the Advent Calendar, which really so far has very little ties to the special releasing in a week. I wish that I had realized exactly what he was saying in the moment. Like, looking back and re-listening to this all, I wish I could have been like, well, then where's our stuff for Disney Plus shows? And my guess was that it would have been a series 2. Hopefully, very soon in 2023, we see a series 2 to cap off and catch up to where we are with the shows. I just think that there should be a balance of shows and a series if you are going to be doing this. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. That's a missed opportunity for Marvel, and there's all that missed opportunity that we talked about with DC. I want to jump back to another really important thing here. And to me, this is the saddest thing, honestly, and it's about the anniversary of superheroes. And I'll play you the clip.
Was there any consideration for doing 10-year anniversary sets this year for 2012 to now?
Did you realise it was our 10-year anniversary? We would have been planning these sets in the middle of COVID and we weren't talking to each other.
We weren't, and you say it's all depending on how you choose to count.
Well, it would be 20 years for Spider-Man if you go by studios. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
We didn't do too much about it. We had cake, but...
There was cake? You would have told me there was cake.
Okay.
I was at home in my basement with T-Challa here.
That sounds like they forgot. And we can't blame Mark Stafford. We can't blame any other designers. We can't really blame the team lead. I'm more inclined to point the finger at marketing, and it's their responsibility to make sure that they're on top of anniversaries and things like that. There was a really interesting thing that happened when I was there. We had the opportunity to do a Q&A and during the reveal of the Razor Crest set, and the designer was saying how he began work on the set only a week before it blew up on the show. And then someone else asked, well, what was the last set that you worked on before this? And you could see him pause. And you could see the wheels in his head turn, trying to think of what was the set before the Razor Crest that I was working on, because that would have been so long ago. Sets are designed. That would have been so long ago. Sets are designed so far in advance. So way back in 2020, they should have been designing something for the anniversary, and COVID has sort of put a blame on that. They've said about how everyone just wasn't really communicating and all these different things. But at the same time, we've seen the communication. We've seen that they were able to plan out anniversary stuff for friends, for modulars. And something else they said to me, and I've seen in other interviews for the superhero team, was, well, it all depends on when you decide to celebrate. I'd say definitively it's 2012. So it just seems like excuses for why they just pretty much forgot. One of the things looking back at the last 10 years of Marvel superheroes is sometimes a concept looks made up on Lego's end, whether I think one of the first instances was the Dune buggy with the Mandarin, and then we found out, oh, that outfit was actually from concept art that like Lego was given and things like that. And it turns out that with No Way Home, I really find this fascinating. That bug creature was concept art that they were given, and they were told to make that into a set. Here is a little bit of audio about how they actually knew about how they weren't allowed to include specific villains in these sets.
All right, No Way Home, we got very little concept art because they were keeping everything very secret. Even right up to the movie coming out, even with pictures leaking, nobody was sure how many Spider-Men were in this movie.
It wasn't just Lego.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
So we didn't know. We knew there was a Spider-Man in that movie. And we knew Doctor Strange was in that movie. Mm-hmm. And we knew kind of which bad guys we weren't allowed to put in, which was kind of all of them. They sent us a very weird hand-drawn picture of a giant grasshopper cum mantis thing, which they said base it on this, so it's part insect and part tentacle. It's just made up.
It's made up. There's a lot of things we can't reveal. Yeah. And we can't be the point of spoiling anything. And you say to make a good toy, we also need... Then you need more something. Than just a basement.
You could see this doorway. That specific doorway was there, and there was something going on. And I asked, can I get more details of what's here? And they just were constructing the set. And they sent me like 60 photos from the set of this basement. None of it was what's the interesting bit, which is what's through the doorway. It was all Doctor Strange's basement.
So I think that's really interesting. I can't tell if that means when he said that they weren't allowed to include specific villains. I'm assuming that means they knew who was in the cells I think, or that they had concept art of at least minimum Doc Ock, because we did see that some other toy companies had a Doc Ock ready to go really soon afterwards. Same with Green Goblin, and then of course those were in the first trailers. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did have that. They just might not have been allowed to include that. Again, this is another instance of everyone points the finger at Lego. It's Lego, it's Lego, it's Lego. No, it's actually Disney and Sony trying to keep stuff a secret over there. Of course, because Mark Stafford was the designer behind the Black Panther bust, I did have a few questions for him. I know he's touched a bit about it online, and I did mention, I think, in some other videos, but in case you didn't know, here's just some of the questions. So the first one here that I ask is about the size of this, and why was it decided to go with this large model instead of going something with more in line with all the Star Wars ones and the 3 Marvel ones that we've gotten already?
The problems with whether you do it on the first Black Panther head or the second, it's the lines on the face. It is incredibly hard to get those to work. As we got smaller and smaller, it was either going to be like 40, 50 stickers on the model, or you would remove them, in which case it's just a black blob.
Which, his response is sort of frustrating to me, because I know that, like he said, it would take a lot of stickers and all that and prints, but I think that it just would have gone over better if it was maybe even a comic book one or something like that. Having this cheaper version just would have gone that much further for people collecting these helmets already, and just make it more available for people to get a set in a cheaper price range to honor this character. Another question I asked was, why wasn't there a minifigure included? Was that ever considered? Because, of course, Thor's hammer had one. So, you know, something this large. And a minifigure of, like, T-Challa in the ancestral robes really could have helped, I think, this set. And where else are we ever going to get that minifigure?
I did suggest a figure a few times, but at the end of the day, it just felt weird with a minifigure on it. I would rather have got all the silver bits properly drum lacquered. I'd rather make sure that all of the color changes I require to make the head as good as I possibly can as a building experience, as a final visual model.
And speaking of Black Panther, the other thing, really briefly, that I asked was, why was the one small 4+ set branded under Black Panther and not Infinity Saga?
You say all of the branding, we are agreeing directly with Marvel counterparts.
Okay.
And that's where you could have argued for that being under Infinity Saga.
Just like a plain Spider-Man set. This is a plain
Okay.
Black Panther set.
So that's kind of cool to think about, honestly. Could we get more Black Panther sets from the movies just branded under this and not under Infinity Saga? Like even maybe some stuff from Wakanda Forever? Or even, like you just said, Spider-Man. What if they brand No Way Home sets under just Spider-Man? I don't know. Well, there you have it, everyone. That is just a bunch of questions that I think we've been wondering, and I know that Brickset just put out their article. I've been working on this video already for a while, and I knew that putting all together all the words and all that was just going to be so much work because of my bad audio quality. I want to make sure that everyone can tell what's being said. But this was a really difficult video to even record back then. Like I said before, it was very stressful. As the interview went along, I felt more comfortable. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What was the most interesting bit of information? And please check out my friend CM4Size Instagram page. He created a lot of the minifigures that we use in the thumbnail as well as in the video. Check out specifically MiniSuperHeroesToday, who let me use some of the footage for his video. He asked other questions, which if you want to see it all in real time, you should check that out. I'll link that at the end here. But I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the next one.